Right, here we are with our LCS front-end server. What I'm going to do is just talk you through the process involved in moving all the system setup to the configuration container. What we'll do is, first thing we're going to do is just stop all the services on the front-end box. Obviously, if you've got multiple front ends, it needs stopping on all of them. So we'll just click and stop. Okay, and it takes a second. Now, the next thing we need to do is get the OCS migration tool installed. Okay, if you can see, I've already copied it to my desktop. There it is, Migrate OCS. Pretty straightforward to install. There we go. Next, accept the license. Yeah, ask for a path. Keep it in the root because we need it from the command line. If you put it anywhere else, it just gets a bit painful. So we'll let it install. There we go, it's done. Now, to do this, we're going to need a couple of DOS prompts opening. So we'll open two. There we go, because we're basically going to be running two separate commands. The first step we need to do is we need to find the migration tool we've just installed. You'll see that it's under Migrate OCS. Okay, and there are a couple of commands that we need to run. So let's have a look at them. The first one, it's all documented in my blog there, by the way, but the first one, I've just banged them all into Notepad just to make sure I've got the order correct. Copy it into your command and let it run. It takes a few minutes. Okay, yeah, so that's that bit done. So what we'll do now is get the next command up. Just copy it. And then we'll paste it into your command box there and let it run. Now, one thing to watch out for on a couple of these, you'll notice at the bottom there it says this migrate step hasn't completed, please repeat. So what we need to do is just run it again. Alright, you'll notice this time it says that it's completed successfully. Alright, so we know that bit's okay. Alright, well, let's have a look at the next one. Now the next one is an LCS command, which is run from this is important, it needs to be the LCS command that you use for 2005 SP1, not the one from OCS, not the one from OCS R2. So we need to find that. So from the other DOS prompt, it's into program files, it's under common files if I remember rightly, and then Microsoft LC. There we go, there's our LCS command. So what we're going to do is just copy this one out, paste it into that DOS prompt and let it run. Should only take a minute. There we go, it's done. Now you'll see the next one is the domain prep. This will need running for every domain that's in your solution. In my test system I only have one domain, so I'm just going to run it once. Okay, so we'll let that run. There we go, and it's done. Now we're back to running the migrate script, so we're back into the other window. Alright, so let's have a look at this command. Alright, now the only thing you might want to change on this one is the search scope. Alright, at the first bit what we're doing is we're migrating the server references. Now I've set my search scope to search the whole of AD, alright, which is fine because my test environment is quite a small AD environment, but if you had a large one, you might want to specify the actual path to your servers. So for example, if we fire up our DSA, oops, that's a bit big, okay, we'll have a look, you'll see that my servers are there, so servers corp and then ds local. Okay, so what we could do is change our search scope to be that, in which case it won't search the whole of AD, it will just search the container that we've given it there. Alright, so let's stay with that. We'll copy that command out, we'll run it in the appropriate DOS prompt. There we go. Alright, again you'll notice it says this migrate step hasn't fully completed, so what we need to do is just run it again. Okay, so let's run that command again. There we go, has completed successfully. Alright, the next bit we need to do is migrate the users. And if you notice on the user one, again we've got that same search base. So again you can adjust that if your users are in a particular OU rather than searching your whole AD. I'm going to stay with the whole AD because mine's pretty small. So again we'll just paste it into that window. Again you get this migrate step hasn't fully completed, so we need to run it again. There we go, and it has completed. Alright, now bear in mind that last one for the users, that can actually take a while to run. On a fast server, it takes about an hour to do about 50,000 users in my experience, which is pretty fast. But obviously if you've got a lot of users, you need to bear that in mind when you actually run it. Okay, now what we're going to do now is actually fire up the front end. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pop into the management tools and start our services. Alright, what you should do now of course is go off and check to make sure that all your clients can log in, your messaging works, and your conferencing if you use that. Okay, you should certainly do that before we run this last piece. And what this does, it removes all the references out of the system container, and only uses the one in configuration. Okay, so we'll copy that out and we'll paste it into our DOS prompt. There we go. So we're now ready to go. What I would suggest is once you've done all this is that you reboot your front end servers. The only other thing to mention, of course, is what I've just been doing actually relies on AD replication as well. So it's quite important that between each step you ensure that your replication is completed. Personally, I would use the AD tools, sites and services, which I don't have installed on this one, but use sites and services to make sure your AD is synced before you move on between each step. If you don't, you can run into issues. Basically what happens is the tasks marked as complete, but they're not. So yeah, it's worth bearing in mind that you need to focus on making sure your AD is synced up before you run each step consecutively.